Welcome back to the live stream, everyone. I realized I never introduced myself. I'm Tanya Dua. I'm the Senior Technology Editor at LinkedIn, and you can follow me on LinkedIn for more. Joining me for our second session are two fabulous guests, and I'm going to give them 30 seconds each to make quick intros.
Hi, Tanya. I am May Habib, the co-founder and CEO of Writer. We are a full-stack generative AI platform for the enterprise. It's an especially fun day today because we announced our 200 million Series C just a few moments ago on LinkedIn before coming on.
Huge congrats.
Thank you.
Congratulations. My name is Jesper Eriksen. I'm the CEO of Templafy, and Templafy helps large enterprises automate the creation of high-value documents.
Mm-hmm. So both of you, obviously serving the enterprise. This was my first question to our previous guest as well. There's a debate around where we are in enterprise adoption of AI. I'm curious to hear both your thoughts. Do you think we've reached the true potential? Are we actually seeing POCs go into deployment, or is there more left to be desired?
I'm happy to take that one first. There is a real gulf between the folks who are still struggling to get to square one and the enterprises who are at square 10, and we can talk about why that is. I do think most of the enterprise is in a bit of a crisis in terms of the application quality, the efficiency, the adoption of the generative AI that they are building.
Why, just quick follow-up, why are they in a crisis? That's a pretty strong statement.
Architecture matters, and the LLMs are increasing in power, and even state-of-the-art LLMs need to be connected to customer logic and use cases and data and workflows, and all of that needs to be maintained. And what we have done is build a full-stack generative AI solution that combines LLMs with retrieval, with guardrails, with observability to get customers to production grade faster. But the vast majority of the enterprise is really still struggling.
So you heard May talk about all the things you have to have ready before you jump into it. So according to you, what internal capabilities do enterprises need to make sure they have in order to go from the proof of concept to ROI stage?
Well, I actually think that the most important thing to bear in mind is that they are, with our help, rolling out a tool to a huge amount of people that probably read in the newspaper that this is going to end their job. Huh? So the change management around it, making people understand that, no, you need to adapt this to create a more interesting job for the future. One thing is technology, of course, that's a lot to do there, the user interfaces, all these kind of things, but just the change management part of it, making people not afraid, but actually curious to learn, to improve their skills, to create more value for the people they serve in their day-to-day job. I think that's actually where it's most critical these days.
So May, back to you. How does building enterprise models differ from building consumer-based models? Is it better to put money into one model or diversify and have multiple LLMs that you're using?
Great set of questions, and there's a lot in there. At Writer, we've built a family of models that's compatible with each other that combines deep reasoning with domain-based expertise. So a medical model, a financial services model, a creative model, a customer support model. And what we have found is building in this domain-specific way means the customer doesn't have to fine-tune. Right? Business logic and examples are enough to get us to that high quality, and it's much easier to maintain. But you do have to have an opinion about the kinds of use cases you are going after to really build the training data that get these models to where they need to be. Very different than the everything in the kitchen sink approach of the consumer grade models. Much more effective to be able to be precision trained for the enterprise and a much more economical total cost of ownership.
So Jesper, for you, for Templafy, you guys are using AI orchestration in your workflow. Can you tell us a bit more about that for the average user, and then how is it actually driving ROI for enterprises?
Yeah, when we talk about orchestration, well, AI is part of what we orchestrate as a company. So we help generate high-value documents that create more revenue. A document consists of many layers. It consists of the brand, don't ask an AI about that because you know how it's going to look. There are legal stuff, disclaimers, there's company data that needs to be inserted. And then on top of that, there's what was used to be created by humans, expert knowledge that needs to go into the document in the right place. And that is when we talk about AI orchestration. We make sure that because we know the context, what's happening, what person is doing this, we can generate the perfect prompt, which is usually a very long prompt, and send it to exactly, as May said, the right LLM who has the expertise to give the best answer to that. So we talk about orchestration. It's the right prompt, contextualized to the right LLM, bring it back in the right format at the right place in whatever document is being created.
Got it. In terms of, we talked about readiness and what enterprises need to have in order to start experimenting or even deploying AI. What are, according to both of you, and you can answer it one by one, the biggest mistakes that enterprises tend to make when they're ready to get started in their AI journeys?
For me, it's very clear. The biggest mistake folks make is analysis paralysis. You end up building a model garden to not fall behind, be able to use any model, and instead you build a model museum. And the things that are really important, right, that lead to self-reliance, self-sufficiency that enterprises are looking for, it's 4 things that actually have nothing to do with models. It's the actual use cases and the business logic that goes along with those use cases, right? We're talking mission critical stuff. It is the data and the examples and the pipelines that can feed those data and those examples in a real-time way to the use cases. And then it's the people to build, and then it's the change management appetite of the organization. And those 4 things have nothing to do with LLMs, and the vast majority of enterprises are still really getting their arms around it and sometimes focused on the wrong thing.
Jasper, what would you say?
Completely agree. On top of that, as the company who's trying to help these large enterprises through the change management, what we've seen is that start a bit simple, so everyone actually understands, oh, this is actually easy for me to understand, I can use this. As an example, we actually just included to all our 4 million users an AI assistant. We just rolled it out immediately to everyone so they can start practicing, making themselves feel comfortable until more advanced solutions are there that they also need to be that also need to be inserted kind of in their existing workflows for them to adapt them fast. So understanding where you are, where people are, take them from where you are, there they are, small steps but fast steps towards the kind of automated future of work.
Got it. So obviously the space is getting more crowded, right? Initially we had this whole battle between who's going to win the LLM battles, and now we have all these enterprise companies like yours serving enterprises looking to capitalize on it. Some investors say, well, next we're going to see consumer applications take off. Seems like every day there's like 500 new companies coming up. From your perspectives, and since you just raised your Series C, what do you need to win? How are you differentiating yourself?
Yeah. It is absolutely super, super crowded, and every CIO is looking for an edge. They will personally take that demo with a 5-person startup if they think it'll help their program. And so it can be very deceiving for young startups to kind of get this initial interest in their products. But this has been what we've tried to do from the very beginning, really having a vision to solve a problem completely, right? What we've learned in years of pioneering enterprise generative AI is the companies need full end-to-end solutions. So if you start with a tiny wedge, be able to communicate what the full vision is to an enterprise, because what they're getting from startups very different than what they're getting from hyperscalers, right? They are choosing to bet on an innovation roadmap that's just going to far outstrip everything else, and that's what's led to our success over the last 4 years.
Jasper, how do you stand out in this crowded space?
Well, our promise to customers has always been kind of our mission that we want to eliminate manual document work so people can actually spend their time creating much better value somewhere else. With the AI LLMs that are right now, future the agentic AI, we will get close to being there. Before that, we were probably at, well, we could eliminate like 50-60% of the manual document. With the LLMs, we're probably at 80. With the agentic, we will be close to 100. So it's just telling people, yeah, there's a technology roadmap, but in the end, it's a value creation for you roadmap. So you will generate documents without manual interaction that generate more revenue to you as a company.
Got it. So, well, we have about 5 minutes, so I'm going to throw it off to audience questions. Reminder, if you have a question that's not been asked yet, definitely share it, and we'll try to get to it if we can. So the first one here is, how can enterprises best identify which mission-critical tasks are ready for AI? So our previous guest talked about a 3Ps process. Do you have anything similar that you follow, either of you?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it is about revenue. You know, you can't take productivity to the bank. You aren't gonna pay people 80 cents on the dollar if, you know, a co-pilot has made them 20% more productive. But you really can rewire and rethink whole workflows that can grow the company's top line to be generative AI first, like the way that a CPG company takes products to market. We've helped everything from dog food companies to skin cream companies have the time that it takes to take products to market. Being able to sell more on your websites. We've helped major retailers increase revenue by more than 20% online by optimizing those flows. And so really thinking about first, you know, what are those mission critical use cases and aligning on them. And then from a readiness perspective, data, processes, systems, right? The business logic is such an important part to get right, because the LLMs need to be scaffolded with the business logic. But if everybody in the enterprise is doing it differently, then you're going to need time, right? And so, you know, as you winnow kind of that mission critical set of use cases, thinking about where we already have alignment on how this thing should be done, you know, that gets you to value so much faster. And then data, you know, follows the business logic, and then the actual people to implement the change, right? If you've got one brand that has a lot of really innovative people in it and another that doesn't, right, it's obvious where you should start.
Where do guardrails fit into all this, Jesper, when you're evaluating what mission critical tasks are for you?
Good question.
Guardrails, none of our customers would use us if we didn't provide those guardrails. The way we look at it is we should use AI where AI is really going to make a big difference in the speed and the quality of it gets out. Don't use it for things, mundane things that you can just automate in a more kind of low-tech fashion. On the guardrails for the AI usage then, make sure that you use the right prompting mechanisms, make sure that you contextualize, make sure that you ask the right LLMs for the right answers. Then you will make sure that what you get back is also ready to use for business purpose.
Awesome. We're going to go on to our second question now. How do you help clients align their Gen AI strategies with long-term goals rather than short-term hype? So everyone's talking about agents right now, but it may not be the most useful for a certain company. So how do you make that company identify their strategies so that it makes sense with their long-term goals?
Agentic is where I went as well. And, you know, a big part of why we raised our Series C is to build this next phase of Writer, which is about autonomous AI that can orchestrate work between systems and across teams. And when you think about, you know, the short-term hype around agentic, it can really miss the point that the nodes of a workflow, the ones that are most knowledge intensive, the ones that are most business logic intensive, if you get those wrong, then you're just moving crap from one system to another and actually amplifying the inherent weaknesses of LLMs. And so, you know, I think the short-term hype versus the long-term value, the answer is really similar to the previous question, which is, you know, focus on those use cases that are most mission critical, that most move the top line, and then figure out, you know, where is the organizational readiness there to start proving value.
Jesper, have anything to add to that?
I completely agree. You know, focusing on the winning short term again and again and again fast, then you will build long-term value for this. There's so much happening. We don't know what the technology is going to look like in 2 years, but take advantage of it today, create value for your business. First of all, revenue. Secondly, cost reductions, and of course also compliance in what you do as an enterprise, which is important.
Last question, and we're going to have to move really fast on this. So 3 sentences per person. I sound like a teacher. With so many SaaS and generative AI solutions, how do you ensure you're not stuck with technical debt, and how to balance explore versus exploit decisions with the rapidly improving and changing landscape?
Jesper, you want to go first?
It's something I think about every day, and in the end, it's really about rallying the team around you, making sure that you continue to add the competences needed to understand what's happening around you. The team you have today is great. You will need to add more people, more competences, new ideas, new knowledge on a daily basis as well.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think, you know, the thing to remember is that this software is not the systems of record of yesteryear. You know, switching costs are actually way less than they ever were, and they're going to continue to be a lot less. Focusing on what you need for self-reliance and self-sufficiency, the things that we talked about, the use cases, the data, the people, is the best way to prevent, you know, tech debt and vendor lock-in.
Thank you so much, May and Jesper. This was so much fun, and we're going to go on a short break now, and we'll be back with our next guests shortly. Thank you.